Out of everything you'll ever do in your business journey, the single most important decision you'll make is this: which model are you going to commit to? And here's the problem. Most people never actually commit to that decision. They dabble. They try a bit of dropshipping, maybe a little bit of crypto, maybe they buy a course on Ecom, and maybe they watch some YouTube tutorials on SMMA. They jump from thing to another, hoping that the next model is finally going to be the one that changes their life. But you and I both know how that story usually ends. 6 months later, they're burned out, broke, and no further ahead than when they started. And the reason isn't that they're lazy. It's not that they're stupid. It's simply that they picked the wrong vehicle, or worse, they never committed to one long enough. See, here's the truth. Every business model out there can work. There are people making millions in Ecom, in real estate, in crypto, in coaching, in agencies. That's not the point. The point is, which model gives you the highest chance of success, given where you are right now? Because think about it. Let's say you want to drive from point A to point B. You could technically take a bike, a bus, a car, or even run there on foot. They all work in theory, but some are a lot faster, easier, and more realistic depending on where you're starting. Business is the same. Your vehicle matters. And this is why so many beginners waste years. They pick a business model that looks cool, or one that some influencers on YouTube made sound easy, but without asking the real question: how much money do I need up front? How long will it take before I see the results? What skills will this teach me? And most importantly, does this actually give me the freedom I'm looking for? If you don't answer those questions, you're basically gambling your future. You're throwing yourself into something that might take you years to realize it wasn't the right fit. And that's why I'm making this video, because I don't want you to waste years the same way I've seen so many people do. I want to show you how to actually pick the right business model for you. One that's realistic, one that builds your skills, creates cash flow, and one that actually sets you up for long-term freedom. We'll talk about what business models isn't the right starting point, what you should actually be looking for when you're choosing, and what business model I think is the right vehicle right now. So if you're someone who's been feeling lost, confused, or stuck because you don't even know which path to commit to, pay attention to this. This could literally save you years of trial and error. So let's start with the mistake almost everyone makes. They jump into the sexiest looking model, and a lot of times that's e-commerce. I get it. On the surface, it looks amazing. You see people on TikTok flexing screenshots, selling products while they sleep, talking about passive income. It sounds like the dream, right? You just set up a store, you run some ads, and then money comes in. But here's the reality nobody talks about. Ecom is brutally hard to start with if you're a beginner. Why? First, it's capital heavy. You need money for ads, product testing, maybe even inventory. And if you're starting with zero, you'll burn through cash fast before you see a single sale. Second, the margins are razor thin. You might sell a product for $30, but after the product cost, the shipping, the ad spend, the transaction fees, you're left with $5. That means you need massive volume to make real money. And thirdly, competition is insane. You're not just competing with other beginners, you're competing with massive brands that have teams, budgets, and experience that you don't. And fourth, it takes years to build a brand that lasts. The whole idea of throwing up a Shopify store and becoming a millionaire overnight is basically a myth. You can get lucky, surely, but for most people, it doesn't play out that way. This is why so many people quit Ecom after a few months. Not because they are not smart, but because the game is stacked against them in the beginning. They picked the wrong vehicle for where they're starting from. Does this mean Ecom is bad? No. If you already have capital, patience, and you want to build a brand over years, it can work. But if your goal is to build freedom quickly, to learn high-value skills, and create consistent cash flow without spending thousands upfront, then Ecom is simply not the best place to start. And that's exactly why you need to be smarter when picking your business model. Because the business you choose should match your goals, your situation, and your timeline. So if Ecom isn't the smartest starting point, what should you actually be looking for in a business model? I like to think about it as a simple framework. Ask yourself 4 questions. Number 1, what's the barrier to entry? If you need thousands of dollars just to check if it works, that's not a good start. The best business models let you begin with almost no capital, so your main investment is your time and your effort, not your bank account. And number 2, does this business teach me valuable skills? This is so important. Even if your first business doesn't make you a millionaire, the skills you learn should make you valuable forever. Sales, marketing, communication, client management, content, these are all skills that compound. You want a model that forces you to build them. And number 3 is the cash flow recurring. One-off payment sounds nice, but they don't build freedom. You want a business where income comes in every month, where clients stay with you, and where you don't have to start from zero on the first of every month. That's how you build stability. And number 4 is their demand in the market. It doesn't matter how passionate you are. If nobody needs what you're selling, you're stuck. The best business models solve painful problems for people who are willing to pay. Look at where attention is going. Look at what businesses are struggling with and build around that. If a model checks those 4 boxes, low barrier to entry, teaches skills, recurring income, and strong demand, you found something worth committing to. If it doesn't, you're probably setting yourself up for frustration. So now that you know the framework, let's talk about the business model that, in my opinion, checks every single box and is hands down the best one to start in 2025. I'm talking about short form content agency. And I don't say that lightly. I've tried other business models. I've seen friends waste years in Ecom. I've run SMMA myself for 5 years and even sold my agency. Nothing comes close to the simplicity and scalability and the opportunity that comes with SFCA right now. This isn't some random side hustle. This is a real business model that allows you to start with almost zero cost, build high value skills, and create recurring income and tap into one of the biggest opportunities on the internet today, short form content. Let's break it down against the framework we just talked about. Barrier to entry. It's almost zero. You don't need thousands of dollars on ads or inventory. You don't need gambling or testing products. You can literally start with your laptop and Wi-Fi. Your main investment is your time and your effort and the willingness to learn. Does it teach you valuable skills? Absolutely. When you run an SFCA, you're forced to master the fundamentals that will serve you for the rest of your life. Sales, client acquisition, negotiation, communication, social media strategy, content creating, editing, and delivery. These aren't skills that disappear. They will compound, and the more you use them, the more valuable you become. Recurring income. This is where SFCA destroys most other business models. Content isn't a one-off thing. It's not like building a website where you hand it over and the client never needs you again. Businesses need new content every single month, forever, and you're the one providing that consistently. You just built yourself a predictable, stable, recurring revenue. Clients don't just pay you once, they pay you every single month, sometimes for years. Fourth, market demand. It's massive. Social media is the new storefront. Attention is the new currency. Every single coach, consultant, business owner, and entrepreneur knows they need more content. They know short form is the fastest way to build authority, generate leads, and get in front of their audience. But here's the kicker. Almost none of them know how to actually do it properly. And that's where you step in. You provide the system and they happily pay you for it. So when you put it all together, SFCA checks every single box. Low cost to start, teaches you skills that compound for life, generates recurring predictable income, and solves a problem that the entire market is desperate to fix. That's why I believe without a question that starting a short form content agency is the smartest business model in 2025 if your goal is freedom, cash flow, and long-term opportunity. And here's the big mindset shift I want you to take away from this video. Shiny object syndrome. It's the fastest way to stay stuck. Most beginners don't actually fail because the business model doesn't work. SMMA works, Ecom works, SFCA works. They fail because they keep switching vehicles the moment it gets hard. They see someone making money with dropshipping, so they try that. They hear about crypto, so they jump into that. Then they watch a YouTube video about another business model, and suddenly they're switching again and again and again. Every single time they reset, they go back to zero. No momentum, no skills compound, just wasted time. That's why you can't pick based on what looks sexy on social media. Lambos, screenshots, and hype don't pay your bills. What matters is whether the business model gives you what you're actually chasing. Cash flow now so you can quit your job and buy back your time. Skills for life so you're valuable no matter what happens. A pathway for freedom so you're not just hustling in circles but actually building a future. Ecom might look cool, but without cash flow and skills, you'll end up stuck. Crypto might give you a quick win, but it won't build you a business. SFCA, on the other hand, ticks all 3 boxes. You get paid every month, you learn real skills, and you build a network of actual entrepreneurs. The bottom line, shiny object syndrome kills more dreams than failure ever will. If you want freedom, stop chasing hype. Pick the vehicle that actually moves you towards your goals and then stick with it long enough to win. Remember, the business model you choose is the single biggest factor in whether or not you actually make it online. Pick the wrong one and you can waste years of your life, lose thousands of dollars, and end right back at where you started. Pick the right one and everything changes. You start building momentum, you start stacking skills, finally get the freedom you've been chasing. For me, after trying different models, the one that made the most sense and the one that I believe is the best in 2025 is a short form content agency. It's simple, it's scalable, and it puts you in the middle of the single biggest opportunity on the internet right now, social media attention. But here's the thing, I can't make that decision for you. You need to decide what vehicle you're going to commit to and then go all in. So if you're still unsure, if you're torn between Ecom, SMMA or SFCA, shoot me a message on Instagram, tell me where you're at right now and I'll point you in the right direction. Don't waste another year trying to figure this out on your own. Pick the right vehicle, commit to it, and watch how fast things can change when you finally focus.